Coming this May 6th to examination rooms near you. Paper 2 Illustrated Mural 1.0. But first,
Let me take a selfie.
So, drawn in our mural is number 1, which is John Proctor with his love, Elizabeth Proctor, on the left side and Abigail on the right. So, initially, we start off with a conflict early on in the novel due to an affair that John Proctor had with Abigail. There's a sense of dramatic irony because we know what's happened, but Elizabeth Proctor is in the dark in this situation. Now, as you can see through the image that we draw, there are hearts. There are roses on the right side, on the right hand of John Proctor, and a knife on the left hand. This represents that even though he had an affair, he did not want to be with Abigail. It was a mistake that he totally regret. Early on in the novel, though, he has accepted his mistakes and accepted whatever consequences came of it. Abigail, however, number 2, does not accept the fact that John Proctor is still in love with Elizabeth and does not want to be with her. So therefore, she comes up with an elaborate plan to kill Elizabeth Proctor, but as the story progressed and we realized that it wouldn't work, she ended up deciding that killing John Proctor was the only way, as if she cannot have John Proctor, then no one else can. Mary Warren is also in this scene, number 2, because we realize that Mary Warren was only accepting her life. If she does not accept the fact that she is under the command of Abigail, her life would be pretty much meaningless in the story sense, and she would also be killed off. And throughout the story, we know that John is actually quite a strong character with a strong sense of his belief, and we can see in the final parts of the novel, he does not accept what society has become and the stage and what has happened between Abigail and the church. So in the end, he chose to die over living a life that he cannot accept.
he already knows.
We've related our question to several characters throughout the 3 different texts. The first text we will be discussing is The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which was inspired by the Salem witch trials and McCarthyism.
The context of this book is also important to explain this quote. Before all this situation and chaos happened, they all should accept the fact that they're living in Salem, Massachusetts, which they believe has a dark force that supports dark forces like witchcraft. Even though the people did not accept the fact that people were involved in witchcraft, they should find evidences to the crimes that they did not know who the sucks. Damn it. Even though the people did not accept the fact that people were involved in witchcraft, they should find evidences to the crimes that they did not know who the suspects were or have a proof to it. And at the bottom of this part of mural, there's an imagery from page 132 of The Crucible, which supports that Proctor admitted that he was wrong having an affair with Abigail at the court. And the quote is, "God knows how black my sins are."
In the beginning of the novel, Offred seems to struggle taking in new changes in Juliet, refusing to accept that she's separated with her old husband and her daughter Daisy. She wants out but does not want to risk getting caught by the Eye. The Eye is a symbolism of Juliet's authority, what Offred fears and what the characters are trying to accept in their lives. By time, she starts to see the positive side of Juliet and the new arranged society. There are perks such as safety being friends of the commander. Offred will occasionally have memories and compares her current situation with the circumstances she had before the theocratic regime took over the United States. Seeing Maura escape, Offred seems to also want to escape from Juliet, but does not know how Maura did it until she saw her in the party. After seeing Maura, Offred wants to escape even more. At the end, we see that Offred tolerated being under a new political system, but we also see her being part of the resistance. Serena Joy is infertile, and as a woman, she is also suffering from how Juliet treats other women. She needs to accept the fact that she cannot provide the commander a child and cannot procreate. Serena Joy must be able to accept that she needs Offred, which is why even though she doesn't like Offred, she is not able to kick her out, as Offred is her only hope. The quote, "Humanity is so adaptable," my mother would say, truly amazing what people can get used to as long as there are a few compensations, from chapter 41, has a theme of religion and theocracy. In this quote, we see that Offred is trying to rationalize with herself and is maybe fighting with her other conscience and the other part of herself that desires to escape.
In this picture, as you can see, there's the shape of the state of Massachusetts, and it's represented in the color of an American flag to show that it is in America. And it's beside the picture of a witch, and it shows that there's a witch in the witchcraft beliefs in Massachusetts. Then there's a picture of a hand holding a magnifying glass, and it shows a visual imagery of the context of the story, as John Proctor said that his sins are black, and it's shown in page 132. This quote is represented by two pictures, as there's a black paint and a devil to show the sin is black, and it shows a visual imagery as the one being magnified is John Proctor himself. And yeah, this is related to
The third text that we're going to discuss in our mural is Modern Courage and Her Children, written by Bertolt Brecht. The context of the play is in 30 Years' War, which is a war against Protestant countries versus Roman Catholic countries. One of the themes that was discussed in the play was the idea of courage. The play questions the motherhood of Mother Courage, as well her characteristic of courage. Bertolt Brecht once wrote, "Real courage would be refusing to get into the plane in the first place." However, in the play, Mother Courage failed to not participate in the war, but to parasite off of war to make her living instead. One of the literary devices that was used was irony, which was used in the nickname Mother Courage. In the play, Mother Courage fails to be a caring mother or a courageous woman. She struggles to decide whether to live a life of a mother or a life of a canteen woman. As a result, at the end of the play, she loses all of her children and continues her life as a canteen woman. She accepts her life as a canteen woman or merchant, therefore she survives the war. But she has to face consequences of losing her child as a result. And this idea is shown in scene 12, quoting "Got to get back in business again." So the result of accepting her life in Mother Courage's case leads to not necessarily a better life, but she survives unlike her 3 children.